Anne-Elizabeth Motet is a columnist at the London Telegraph that specializes in international affairs. She's now joining us live from Paris. Madame Motet, bonjour. Good to see you and welcome. What, in your view, is that one deciding factor in these polls?
In this vote, I think essentially it's rejection of President Macron, which was hastened by the fact that he dissolved the National Assembly after the European elections vote. The European elections vote was not a national vote. It was a vote for our Euro MPs. His party took a beating and he decided that he would call a snap election for which he gave the minimum window, 3 weeks, in order to get for the parties to get in order of organization, to field the candidates in those 577 constituencies, form alliances without which they would not succeed. And essentially, he sort of compressed the time, hoping that it would put them in disarray. It has not worked, and it is the last straw and a large element of rejection. I heard your very good presenter explaining how Emmanuel Macron was re-elected in 2022. He has a majority in the House, but he didn't have a full majority. So every single bill he had to form a new alliance, a new ad hoc coalition to get this in, and he wanted a full majority again. There is almost no likelihood that he will have it now.
Madame Motet, before I move on to my next question, just very quickly, I want to hear from you. Do you think President Macron's proposal has backfired? Yes or no?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
All right.
Oh, yes.
Let's move on to our next question then. Many experts
everybody else will say that.
Many experts believe the election could hand power to the far right. Your reaction to that, and what would be the impact of that if it happens?
Well, first of all, it is likely. It is, it's not certain because it's a two system in which we vote for candidates, many candidates in those constituencies. There are 4,010 candidates in the 577 constituencies. And next week, you will have a face-off between two candidates. So sometimes if a third candidate gets more than 12.5% of the registered voters, they can join that. And then it becomes a triangular election where essentially the last candidate can spoil it for one of the two sides. And so it is a bit uncertain, but there's a pretty good likelihood that the right might make it. As you said, Jordan Bardella doesn't want to be prime minister without a majority, but if his party, the National Rally, allied with the splinter of Les Républicains, the former Gaullist party, reach something like 10 seats away, say, from power, it is likely that he will come because he will find allies for those 10 seats, and therefore he can consider that he would be able to rule. In which case, what happens is something that France has not known before, which is a right-wing government, hard right, and they will be constricted by the fact that there will be a presidential election at the latest in 3 years. And Marine Le Pen is behind Jordan Bardella. She wants to run for president. And that's why Jordan Bardella, the head of the party, 28 years old, is standing for prime minister. And the result is that they don't want to sort of spoil things. They do not want to do things that would destroy France in the markets. There's many things that they don't want to do. And I will say that they will be split between sending messages to the people who voted for them and being very cautious, because if they bring in the IMF in France because the markets don't trust France anymore, it will be disastrous for them and she will never be elected.
All right. Finally, Madame Motet, and I want us to make it very quick and very brief. A short comparison. How do you view Gabriel Attal and Jordan Bardella?
They're very different animals. Gabriel Attal is 35, and therefore he's suddenly become an oldie from the next youngest prime minister France had. Suddenly he becomes the, he's past it, and he suffers from his association with Emmanuel Macron because there's a personal rejection. We've seen on television walkabouts of Gabriel Attal trying to sort of drum up support for the Macronist party. And people said, we like you, but we don't like the president. And this is new. It's not his round, but he will come back in politics later.
All right. I've been talking to Anne-Elizabeth Mortet, who's a columnist at the London Telegraph that specializes in international affairs. Madam Mortet, thank you for talking to us today.
Merci beaucoup.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.